This is the Composer Corner. Composer Corner.
Hi, I'm Sophia, and today I'm going to be telling you all about a composer who has written some very exciting music. His name is John Williams, and even if you don't recognise his name, I'm sure you'll recognise some of his music. He is a film composer, and wrote the music for many films you might have watched: Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Superman, E.T., the first 3 Harry Potter films, Home Alone, and many, many more. In total, he has written the music for over 100 films. He's one of the most successful film composers of all time, and has won lots of awards for his creations. He's even written the theme music for the Olympics 4 times. So, I'll start off by telling you a little bit about his life. He was born in 1932 in New York, and he's still alive. He is 89 years old. His dad was a musician, and he started playing piano when he was a child. He then also learnt to play trumpet, trombone, and clarinet. When he was a teenager, he started to write his own music. So, what's so special about his music? Well, he's very well known for his grand melodies. Some people call him a master of orchestration, because he writes so well for all the different instruments of the orchestra. And that's an important point. Some composers have written music for just one instrument, like piano, or a group of instruments, for example, a group of different string instruments, a violin, a viola, a cello. John Williams instead uses a full symphony orchestra. This means all the instruments of the orchestra are included in his music. So, string instruments like violins and cellos, woodwind instruments like flutes, clarinets and oboes, brass instruments like trumpets, trombones and French horns, and lastly the percussion instruments like drums, timpani and xylophones. Often, he will write the music so that the string instruments have the main tune, or what we call the melody. The brass instruments, which have a deep, powerful sound, and the percussion, are used particularly for the loud or tense parts of the music. And he often uses the woodwind instruments as what you might call the icing on the cake, because they play floaty lines of music over the melody to decorate the melody and make it even more interesting. If you look in the description that goes with this podcast, you'll see lots of links to different pieces of music he's written. So after listening to this, I suggest you click on those links and see if you can hear what all the different instruments are doing in the music. Now, a very important thing to remember about John Williams' music is that because it appears in films, he is using the music to tell the story of what's happening in the film. Therefore, the music changes with the story and doesn't have a fixed structure like music from other genres like pop or classical music. Some of the pieces of music will be very long if they are accompanying a long scene, or they could be very short. It just depends on what's going on in the story at that time. He uses different techniques very cleverly to show different emotions, like excitement or happiness or tension, danger. After you listen to this podcast, go and have a look at those pieces of music in the description, and you'll see how he uses a variety of musical techniques to create different moods. For example, if the film is showing a fast-paced action scene, like a car chase, the music will probably also be fast and quite loud and exciting. Whereas if it's a very sad scene, because maybe something bad has happened in the story, the music will probably be much slower and in a minor key, which just means that the group of notes used is darker and sadder rather than a major key, which creates a brighter, happier sound. Imagine if you were watching one of the films and there was no music with it. It would probably feel like there was something big missing. As the music draws you in more to the story, it tells you more about the characters, the setting, and the atmosphere. Another really clever technique that many composers like John Williams use in film music is called a leitmotif. A leitmotif is a short musical phrase which represents a specific character in the film or a specific place or idea. This musical phrase or leitmotif comes back every time you see that character or idea on the screen to help you follow the story when you watch the film. And also, because you hear it multiple times, it makes the music, and therefore the whole film, more memorable for you. However, if you kept hearing the same music over and over again, it would get a bit boring. So every time the leitmotif comes back, it's slightly different. So it might have a different tempo, meaning it's faster or slower than before. It might be at a different pitch, so that means the notes are higher or lower than before. Or it could be played by a different instrument. For example, you might have heard it before on a flute, but later you hear it again on a violin. These little changes keep the audience very interested in what's going on. If you look in the description, you'll see that there are links showing specific leitmotifs. There's the leitmotif used for the character of Darth Vader in Star Wars. You hear the same famous tune every time Darth Vader or the Galactic Empire appear on the screen. It uses low, powerful brass instruments to create a dark, tense feeling, showing the audience that he is an evil character. Another example is a leitmotif from Superman. Again, a very famous tune you'll probably recognise. This is played over and over again when Superman appears on the screen. It's a fast tempo, with notes that jump around in pitch, making it sound very happy and cheerful, and showing the audience what a good, heroic character Superman is. So, I hope that's given you some interesting information about John Williams. Go and check out the description and you can have a listen to some of his music. I've also listed some music by other composers who write film music. They all have a slightly different style, so I'd recommend listening to them and see what they do differently to John Williams. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast and that next time you watch a film, you might listen into the music a bit more and see how they've cleverly tied it in to what's happening on the screen. Thanks for listening.
This is the Composer Corner. Composer Corner.